What's up, y'all? Y'all see the title, man. Errol Spence out here ducking these top welterweights, man. What happened to the boogeyman? What happened to the boogeyman that came on the scene and said everybody was scared to fight him? He said Thurman was scared to fight him. Sean Porter was scared to fight him. Danny Garcia was scared to fight him. Everybody was scared to fight him, right? Ever since then, Thurman fought him. I mean, not Thurman. Thurman, excuse me. Thurman didn't fight him. Sean Porter has fought him. Danny has fought him. Ugas has fought him. Mikey Garcia called him out from two weight classes down. I'm trying to see where's this boogeyman. He never was a boogeyman. It was just all off of the strength of him supposedly studying Adrian Broner in sparring and giving Mayweather a hard time and supposedly blacking Mayweather eye. This is where all this boogeyman talk first came about and started going viral, right? Um, and now Mr. Errol Spence, the so-called boogeyman, he's ducking all of these welterweights. Why is he ducking these top welterweights? Now look, Errol Spence, he's the man at welterweight because he got 3 titles. He's the man at welterweight. Now, I think Terrence Crawford is going to stop him, but he's the man at welterweight. And let's see his titles. He has the WBC title, the WBA title, and the IBF. Here's his mandatories. Jaron Boots Ennis. He has a elimination with Stanley Jonas and I guess Virgil Ortiz. Maybe they have to fight for the elimination for the WBA. And his other mandatory is Keith Thurman. He said, I'm not going to fight two of those those mandatories. I'm not gonna fight Keith Thurman. I'm not gonna fight Ennis. Right? So what? Stanley Jonas? My guy Mooney Brown. I like Mooney Brown. Mooney Brown got a nice channel, y'all. But he goes over the top with this Errol Spence thing. He said as long as Errol Spence fights one of his mandatories, he doesn't have to fight Boots Ennis as long as he fight one of his mandatories. This is what I say to you, Mooney Brown. If you say that Errol Spence is the top welterweight, which he is, and we all agree on that, well, mostly everybody agree on that, and you out your own mouth in your last video said that Boots Ennis is going to be a champion, so I already know that y'all think that Errol Spence will stop or wash Keith Thurman, and y'all believe Errol Spence will beat Stanley Jonas or Virgil Ortiz for that matter. So why did you say that it doesn't matter what mandatory fight he fights? Yes, it does. It does matter. He has to fight the guy who is perceived as being the best mandatory. And that's out of your mouth and out of a lot of guys' mouth. Y'all say Ennis is next up. So he has to fight Ennis. He can't go fight Keith Thurman. He can't go fight Stanley Jonas. And according to y'all, he has to fight Boots Ennis. He can't just fight any mandatory. He's ducking Boots Ennis if he go fight Stanley Jonas. I don't care if Stanley Jonas is his mandatory. Boots Ennis is also a mandatory. And Boots Ennis is perceived as being next. You said that out your mouth. So why would he not have to fight Boots Ennis? Can you elaborate on that? He has to fight Boots Ennis if Boots Ennis is his mandatory. So he's not gonna fight Terrence Crawford this year, or I don't know. He's not gonna fight Terrence Crawford, period. So why did he shut it down for the rest of the year when he got 3 mandatories out there? Could have fought Keith Thurman or Boots Ennis. In my opinion, Stanley Jonas is down the line. He has to wait. He could fight Keith Thurman or Ennis. And I want to see him fight Keith Thurman before he fight Ennis. But you said that Ennis is next up. So he has to fight Boots Ennis. And according to you, the man is, look, that whole boogeyman mantra, that was all fluff anyway. It was good publicity when y'all thought he was out there. Y'all thought Keith Thurman was scared of him. Now Keith Thurman is calling him out. Keith Thurman, as a matter of fact, Keith Thurman never said he was never going to fight Errol Spence. Now Earl Spence, his excuse for not fighting Keith Thurman is, I don't like the way he did me in the past. Come on, man. Are we kids? Or is this high school? This is still a professional sport. Y'all are professionals. Keith Thurman and you and Keith Thurman is a big fight. That fight will sell. You know what I'm saying? Y'all got history, so that fight will sell. Keith Thurman is one of the top welterweights of your era. Keith Thurman really still never lost the WBC title in the ring, right? Remember, he dropped the belt so Danny Garcia and Porter can fight for the title. And Jose Sulaiman said, Keith Thurman, you're champion in merit. Whenever you're ready to battle to challenge for the belt, you can get a title shot right away. And look what Errol Spence say. Well, boo-hoo, I don't want to fight him because he didn't want to fight me on my time when I wanted to fight back in 3 years ago, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, wherever it was. He didn't want to fight me, so I'm not going to fight him. That sounds like a bunch of garbage to me. Keith Thurman is one of the guys who you have to tie up a loose end with. Because like I said, Keith Thurman only lost to one guy, and that's a legend, Manny Pacquiao. People act like Keith Thurman lost to a bomb. Keith Thurman lost to a legend, a bigger legend than any of these fighters at welterweight that's fighting right now. A bigger fighter, a bigger name. He lost to that guy. Now, I know he was what? I believe at the time Pacquiao was 40, but like they always say, some great fighters sometimes may have another great fight left in him. I mean, he had one more left in him. And he was able to defeat Keith Thurman. Nevertheless, this is not even about Pacquiao. This is about Keith Thurman being your mandatory, because Jose Sulaiman said he's going to make Keith Thurman your mandatory. I don't know if he did it yet. Maybe he did. I believe he did already. So Keith Thurman is your mandatory. Standing Jonas is your mandatory. Boosin is your mandatory. And you're going to fight. And Moody Brown wants you to fight who? Moody Brown said it doesn't matter who you fight. Yes, it does matter who you fight. Moody Brown. What, do you think Boosin is going to beat Errol Spence? I mean, because if you think he's going to beat Errol Spence, just come out and say it. Hold on, y'all. So, Errol Spence, he need to stop ducking, man, and come out and fight these top welterweights. It's funny, man, how everybody was getting on Keith Thurman when he said that he wanted to wait and do this and do that, and everybody was saying, "Well, you ducking Errol Spence." Now Errol Spence is ducking that work with Ennis. I don't hear nothing. I hear nothing going on. I hear not even a drop of the same energy y'all gave Keith Thurman, because, like I said, and like my guy Zone said, we told people that as soon as Errol Spence get into the position that Keith Thurman was in, he's going to do the same thing. And what he doing? He doing the same thing. It's a young whippersnapper that's calling him out. Actually, it's his mandatory, because at the time that Keith Thurman and at the time Errol Spence wanted to fight Keith Thurman, he was not Keith Thurman's mandatory. Ennis is one of Errol Spence's mandatories. And he don't want to fight that guy. Why? If it's a pit bull that come in the cage, right? And it's a pit bull that already been there dominating inside of the cage, and another pit bull come in there and he wants to fight the pit bull that's been dominating, and that pit bull just walk away and let the new pit bull take over, then what does that say? Errol Spence has been the boogeyman, as y'all say. He's been the boogeyman. of the welterweight division, even though Terrence Crawford is another fighter that came up from weight classes and came into the division and called out all the welterweights, including Errol Spence, including walked up on Errol Spence and said, I want to fight you. I'm going to stop you. So now that Ennis and Terrence Crawford, I'm going to keep it on Ennis. Now that Ennis coming into the pen with Errol Spence, who's been the boogeyman, you know what I'm saying, quote unquote, the boogeyman, all of a sudden Errol Spence want to tuck his tail and I want to fight you, and giving all these reasons and excuses why he don't want to fight him. I only got one fight at welterweight. Okay, if you only got one fight at welterweight, you and Terrence Crawford is not fighting, go fight that dude. I think he said he got 1 or 2 fights at welterweight, whatever it was. So, okay, go fight Ennis. Because if you beat Ennis, guess what? If you beat Ennis, they really are going to be on your side and say, man, there's no way Terrence Crawford can beat him if he beat Boots Ennis. That's what people would be saying. They don't care about the styles and different fighters, and Terrence Crawford is a better fighter than Ennis. They don't care about all that. They just going to say, man, he beat Ennis. Man, ain't nobody going to beat him at 47. And probably ain't nobody going to beat him at 54, which I think 54 is going to be a whole nother story for Errol Spence. Especially if Errol Spence says before he fight Keith Thurman, he'll move up to 54. Okay, you move up to 54. You got some hard fights at 54, man. You got that tall dude, that really tall dude that beat Erickson Lubin. All right, would y'all pick Errol Spence to beat him? I wouldn't. Because he's perceived as being tall, skinny, but the guy's strong. That's a strong, skinny fighter up in there. And he can fight on the inside. That's the bad part. He can fight on the outside and the inside. That's a tough fight for Errol Spence. That's a 50-50 fight. The Charlo brother is still there with all the titles. That's a tough fight for him. I know y'all say, well, different people will say, ISTBA say, I see him beat up Charlo and sparring. Okay, sparring is sparring. A real fight is a real fight. They say that, guess what? Tyson Fury, he had tough sparring with what's my guy name? He had Dillian White. They said Dillian White, I guess, knocked him down a couple times in sparring. What happened when they fought? What happened when they fought, people? He stopped Dillian White in like 5 or 6 rounds. Sparring, like I see, sparring is sparring. You don't know what they working on. They could be working on certain things. Charlo can be working on his weaknesses, while Errol Spence is working on his strengths, or Errol Spence could be working on his weaknesses, while Charlo working on his strengths. You don't even see. Oh yeah, that Harris fight. Yeah, that's a tough fight. Yeah, that Harris fight is a tough fight. It's some tough fights at 54 for Errol Spence. I'm telling y'all, it just is. People say Errol Spence is a big 47. I don't think Errol Spence is a big 47. Errol Spence, look, if you go back to like the 80s and the 90s and the early 2000s, Errol Spence is not a big welterweight. Errol Spence is like 5'9", right? People just look at his muscular stature and say, well, he's a big welterweight. He's not bigger than Tito Trinidad was. Tito Trinidad was a big welterweight. He's not that much. He's probably in the same league as Asa De La Hoya. Asa De La Hoya was 5'10". Sugar Ray Leonard was 5'10", 5'11". Thomas Hearns was 6'1". Thomas Hearns was a big welterweight. That's a big welterweight. Thomas Hearns, that was a big welterweight. Like I said, Tito Trinidad was a big welterweight. I don't see Errol Spence as being that a big. Are you talking about compared to the welterweights today? Because a lot of these welterweights are moving up. Errol Spence actually started his career at 54? He had some fights at 54. I thought Errol Spence was a 54-pound fighter. That's when I seen him. He was fighting at 54. So, to me, he's not. When he go to 54, he's not going to be bigger than those guys. Some of those guys are going to be bigger than Errol Spence. The Charlo brother is bigger than Errol Spence. The one that's at 54, he's bigger than Errol Spence. Sebastian, that guy, he's bigger than Errol Spence. He may be skinny. You know what I'm saying? He may have a skinny skeleton, but he's a natural 54-pound fighter. Like I said, like he said, Tony Harris, that's a hard fight. Tony Harris can box. That's a hard fight. So it's Errol Spence is between a rock and a hard place. He might as well go ahead and fight Ennis or Thurman. In my opinion, I think it should be Thurman before Ennis. But it's people out there that just think that Errol Spence is going to crush Thurman anyway, right? People like Mooney Brown, he think that Errol Spence is going to crush Keith Thurman. So, okay, go fight Ennis then. Oh, he shouldn't have to fight Ennis. Why shouldn't he? When you the top welterweight in the division, like I said, I think not Errol Spence. I think Terence Crawford is going to beat him, even stop him. I got my reasons why. But nevertheless, I give Errol Spence respect because that man got 3 titles. So I'm gonna give that man his respect. He has 3 titles. So what heavy is the crown? Heavy is where the crown on your head, man. It gets heavy when you the king of the division. So when you the king of the division and you got 3 titles, that's gonna come with 3 different potential mandatories. We all know how this game works. Okay, Sebastian, I think Sebastian and Ortiz got to fight an eliminator to see who the mandatory is. So either one of them is mandatory. And then you got Ennis and you got Keith Thurman is mandatory. If everybody say Ennis is next up, Ennis got all this. He is talented. Ennis is next up. So why not fight Bruce Ennis? I don't get why he Mooney Brown. I'm gonna come on his if he have another live, I'll be on there because he got to explain to me why a guy that's clearly the king of the division, why should he pick the perceived weaker of the mandatories, which is Sebastian. I'm not saying Sebastian is the weaker because he never fought. He haven't fought none of them, so we don't know who he had trouble with. He could have trouble with Sebastian. He can go life or death. So I don't know. But I'm saying the perception is that Sebastian is the weaker of the two, name recognition wise. Thurman and Ennis are the 2 bigger names. So, like I said, I'm putting Thurman over here because everybody think he gonna just stop Thurman. So he has to fight Ennis. And I don't see that same energy from when people said that Thurman was ducking Errol Spence. Errol Spencer, he'll never do what Thurman did. He willing to fight everybody. He gonna fight this guy. Okay, so why he not fighting Ennis? And why now he's saying he's not fighting Thurman? Like I said, this is not high school, man. Oh, you don't whine and say, oh, he didn't want to fight me back in the day, so I'm not gonna fight him now. Man, that's high school stuff, man. You're a grown adult. This is combat sports. This is competitive sport. This is mano a mano. If you have a problem with Keith Thurman, which you said you don't like Keith Thurman, so get him in the ring and beat him up then if you don't like him. Because this is like any combat sport, when you don't like somebody, you can actually beat them up and get paid for it. You can actually beat them and won't go to jail or nothing. You could put as much damage within those 12-round limit, 3-minute round. You could put as much damage on Keith Thurman and you can beat him down for not fighting you, making you wait for 5 years. Why do you want to fight Keith Thurman? Keith Thurman is a hard fight for Errol Spence. I'm telling y'all, Keith Thurman is a hard fight for Errol Spence. Errol Spence knows that these fighters know each other, man. Everybody, us out here, we can talk from out here. I actually been in the boxing ring, so I understand that you can talk from the outside, but when you get in there, it's totally different. You can talk from the outside, but once you get in the boxing ring and you put them gloves on and you fighting another human being, his will against your will, you getting hit in the face, you get hit in the body, you hitting them, they hitting, you moving around, you getting tired. I know what that feels like. So Spence versus Boots and Crawford versus Ortiz win their fight. I said that a long time ago. I said that last year. I said that they should set up a Boots. It could be either way around. It could be Boots and Crawford or whatever, however it goes, they can have either Spence and Boots, Crawford and Boots, Crawford or Virgil Ortiz, or Spence Virgil Ortiz. Any how you mix that up in the winter, whoever comes out of them that little 4-man tournament fights each other. I said that a long time ago, but see, it's no guarantee that both of those fighters is gonna win. I know the fighter that's gonna come out on top, Terrence Crawford. I don't know if Spence fights Ortiz or Spence fights Boots. I don't know if he wins. I got Crawford beating all three of those guys. All three of those guys. With Boots Ennis being, the tougher of the fighters, because people think that Spence is a tough fight for Crawford. I think Boots will give him a different look than Spence, because Spence fights the same way round after round. Like, I do give Spence a lot of credit. He is very, very fundamentally sound, but he fights round after round the same way. He doesn't make an adjustment. He doesn't make adjustments. If you see his fights, Spence he fights harder. He doesn't change nothing up. He just fights harder. When he fought against Kell Brook, and he was losing that fight versus Kell Brook, he didn't change anything. He just fought harder. He just ramped up. He just ramped up what he was doing, and he was able to wear Kell Brook down, right? Grind him down, because that's what Errol Spence is. Errol Spence is a grinder. He's not a technician. Crawford is a technician. Even Boots is like a technician too. Virgil Ortiz is a puncher. Virgil Ortiz will get stopped. He'll get stopped by Crawford for sure. Because he's a puncher, man. And Terrence Crawford will just counter him, and he'll counter him with something he don't see, and the fight gonna be over. I'm not saying it's gonna be he's gonna walk through Virgil Ortiz. Virgil Ortiz is a strong fighter. I'm just saying he's gonna stop Virgil Ortiz. But Spence is not a guy that's hard to prepare for. You just got to be in shape. You know what I'm saying? Because when you fight in Spence, he's not giving you no wrinkles. And that's nothing against the guy. He's not going to give you any wrinkles that you have to worry about. You don't have to worry about him switching stuff up mid-fight or third round or fourth round. No, you have to be in shape. Now, if you're not in shape, you're in trouble. Who has more tools in the toolbox, Boots or Crawford? Crawford. In my opinion, I have to see Boots in the fight to where the guy on the other side gives him resistance, and then I can see what his tools. See how really. I mean, right now, just when you just see Boots, yes, he's flashy. He got fast hands. He moves very well in and out. He throws combinations. He throws a nice jab. But I want to see someone on the other side that's going to give him some resistance, so we can see just how good that those tools are. See, I know Terrence Crawford tools are good because I see him against resistance. I haven't seen Boots against resistance yet, because I don't know how he will perform when someone gives him resistance. That's what I want to see. And then I can say Boots, his tools on par with Crawford's. But right now, Crawford got the better tools. There's one thing about Crawford that people don't understand. Crawford has defense. He can fight going forward. He can fight going back. He can switch. I know Boots switch. I know y'all gonna say, well, Boots switches too. Crawford, he's a really good counter puncher. He occasionally throws combinations, but he don't throw a lot of combinations. Crawford is a guy, he's adaptive reactive. What I mean by that is, if you doing something well versus Crawford, you're not going to do it well for round after round after round. Crawford is not going to let you do that. He's going to do something different. He's going to adapt, and then he's going to react, but he's going to do it in real time. It's not going to take him 2 and 3, 4 or 5 rounds to do it. Spence and Virgil are straight up and down, but they are good at what they do. Yeah. Not the most skilled guys, but fundamentally. Yeah. I mean, There's nothing wrong with them being fundamentally sound. I'm just saying, when you fighting somebody versus somebody like a, hold on, let me pause this real quick. I'll be back. Hold on. All right, y'all. I'm back. I'm back. Hey, why don't y'all hit that link? So if y'all want to come on here and conversate, y'all can hit that link, man. We can chop it up. But let me get back to this. What Raider Los Angeles said about uh Ortiz and Spence being good at what they do. Yeah, they both are good at what they do. Spence, like I said, Spence is very, very, very fundamentally sound. Spence is a really good fighter. But what I'm saying is he's not hard to prepare for. He's not hard to prepare for X's and O's wise. Like I said, he's hard to prepare for physically. You have to be in shape, because if you're not in shape, Errol Spence is gonna grind you down. He's just gonna grind you down. But Crawford comes in shape every time. Crawford welterweight division actually is really good for Crawford because he just filled out, naturally filled out. He's not It's not hard for him to make weight. I'm pretty sure Terrence Crawford get to eat. He doesn't have to cut a lot of weight. Terrence Crawford walks around. It looks like when I see him, he walks around, not really, really heavy. Errol Spence has a tendency to blow up in between fights. So people got to understand, when you shrinking your body down, losing weight before a fight, and you got to lose 20 pounds, that's a lot, man. 20 pounds is a lot, man. That's a lot. You can lose it. Now, can you lose it and stay strong? That's the thing. Can you lose it and can you be strong? And when you in a fight with someone that gives you a lot of resistance, that's when that having to lose weight and all that stuff, that's when it really become prominent. That's when it becomes a problem. When you have to lose weight and you fighting a guy that's going to give you a lot of resistance and push you physically. Sean Porter was able to push Errol Spence physically. Carol Brook pushed him physically for those 8-9 rounds he was in the ring. He pushed him physically. Errol Spence really hasn't been pushed physically a lot, but the times he has been pushed physically, you see that people take rounds off of him. And in my opinion, I thought Sean Porter won the fight. I thought it was a close fight, but I thought Sean Porter won. Carol Brook was winning before he got grinded down, but Errol Spence stopped him and was able to put that to bed, because that's what you do. You stop a guy, you put all that stuff to bed. He was able to do that. But like I said, he's not going to beat Terrence Crawford, man. He doesn't. What he does, what he does. Now, Errol Spence does have a really good jab. Now he has a really good jab for the first 4 or 5 rounds. Errol Spence has a tendency to push his jab later in the fight. Later in fights, like go look at some of the Errol Spence fights where you're gonna see the full broadcast and you see the corner man, his corner man, Derrick James speaking to him in between fights. Later in the rounds, like about 6 or 7, 8 up in there, he always tell Errol Spence, and in a lot of his fights, he told Errol Spence, "You push it, don't push your jab." You don't think if Derrick James can see that, you don't think Terrence Crawford can see that? If he pushes his jab and gets lazy with his jab versus Terrence Crawford, he's going to get countered, man. It's not going to be good. And it's the counter punches that hurt you. See, Terrence Crawford may not, I can't say who hits harder between the two. I know Terrence Crawford hits just as hard, but the punches that hurt you are the ones you don't see. That's what people got to understand in boxing. Is the ones you usually can't see are the counter punches. The counter punches usually be the punches that hurt you. Those usually be the punches that put you on Queer Street. And Terrence Crawford is a precision puncher. And that can turn in a precision counter puncher. That can make your power more devastating than probably it really is. But I believe Terrence Crawford can punch with both hands. He's a two-handed puncher. Errol Spence is not really a puncher. He's a grinder. It's a difference. At welterweight, even at welterweight, he's a grinder. You know who was a puncher at welterweight? Thomas Hearns was a puncher at welterweight. You know who was a puncher at welterweight? Tito Trinidad was a puncher at welterweight. Those guys were punchers. Even Sugar Ray Leonard was a puncher. People look at Sugar Ray Leonard, he's moving around, he's boxing, he's got fast hands, but Sugar Ray Leonard was a puncher. That man can punch. So those guys were punchers. And Errol Spence is a grinder. He's a guy that goes to your body mainly when you up against the ropes. See, that's why Sean Porter was turning him when Sean Porter was on the ropes, because Sean Porter and his father understood that as long as we stay off the ropes to keep this fight in the center of the ring, Errol Spence don't really go to your body while you're in the center of the ring. Because the reason why fighters don't go to guys' bodies that much while they're in the center of the ring, because you can get countered really, really easy when you're in the center of the ring. When you on the ropes, you can kind of, duck a little bit, hold your guards up, go to the body. The guys against the ropes, he can't get that much leverage on his punches. So it's just, if Errol Spence try to go to the body, go to Terrence Crawford body while they're in the center of the ring, man, it's not going to be good. Terrence Crawford is just, he's just this generation great fighter. Every generation has it, from Jack Dempsey to Rocky Marciano to you want to go up some, Ali, you want to go up some more, Sugar Ray Leonard, Floyd Mayweather, Bernard Hopkins, the Klitschko, when he got his stuff together, when he started getting with Emmanuel Stewart, Tyson Fury now, Usyk now, Canelo, Terrence Crawford. These guys are great fighters, man. And not to say that they can't lose. Yes, they can lose. It's just that when Terrence Crawford understands this is a legacy fight too, but between him and Spence. You're gonna see the best Terrence Crawford. You're gonna see the best Terrence Crawford. You're gonna see the best Errol Spence. The best Errol Spence, in my opinion, looking at their styles and look how they fight, the best Errol Spence cannot mess with the best Terrence Crawford. Because the best Terrence Crawford has too much going. Defensively, offensively, off script, on script. It's just too much going on there. Errol Spence will have to hit Terrence Crawford with something hard and hurt Terrence Crawford early, like hard, to make Terrence Crawford think about everything. He will have to hit Terrence Crawford so hard that Terrence Crawford just loses, you know what I'm saying? He loses his game plan in his head, or he just cannot really, you know what I'm saying, do what he want to do. And this can turn out to be a boring fight too. This could turn out to be a boring fight. I know people expecting fireworks. Can we get fireworks if Errol Spence can dominate with his jab to make his jab kind of dominant in the fight? Then yes, we can get potentially get fireworks. But Terrence Crawford will neutralize his jab. Terrence Crawford can neutralize his jab with foot movement. He can neutralize his jab by jabbing with Errol Spence. His arms is actually longer than Errol Spence. See, this is one thing that this is the misconception about Terrence Crawford, that he's small. Terrence Crawford is not small for welterweight. He's taller than Mayweather. Came in the welterweight and was able to do things. Why? Because he was a technician. He's taller than Mayweather. His arms are longer than Mayweather, and Mayweather had long arms for the division. Mayweather arms are 72. Terrence Crawford arms are 74. Terrence Crawford is not. If you get caught up in that he's small, then that's when you get in trouble. See, Jeff Horn thought he was small. Oh, he's gonna do the same thing he did to Pacquiao to Terrence Crawford. He come to find out when they get in the ring, Terrence Crawford is too big, it's too strong. Now, I'm not gonna say too big mass wise, but Terrence Crawford was too strong for him. Terrence Crawford got in the ring versus Sean Porter. Go look at Terrence Crawford moving Sean Porter. Virtually easy. Terrence Crawford is not a small guy. He has a small skeleton, but he's not a small guy. Whomever starts first has the edge. Bud and Spence are slow starters, but Bud is a lot stronger than people think. Whoever starts faster. Okay, when people say Terrence Crawford is a slow starter, that's a misconception too. And actually Errol Spence is not a slow starter either, because Errol Spence likes to start with his jab. That's not actually starting slow. That's actually starting fast, because you can bag rounds with your jab. You can actually bag rounds with your jab. That's not actually starting slow. That's filling the guy out and still winning a round. See, Terrence Crawford comes out. He uses his jab. He's more defensively sound in the first part of the fight than he is when it's time to stop you, because this is what I do know about Terrence Crawford, and this is how I know when guys are in trouble. This is how I knew he was going to stop Sean Porter too. I told everybody he's going to stop Sean Porter, but once Terrence Crawford figure you out, the fight is over. He's going to figure you out. He gonna fit out. He can still wheel rounds while he's figuring you out. He gonna figure out your punch. Once he see, the reason why it took him a little while to stop Sean Porter, because Sean Porter did not fight Terrence Crawford like he fought Errol Spence. He didn't just come at Terrence Crawford recklessly, because he know that Terrence Crawford is a counter puncher and a precision to counter puncher. Terrence Crawford, once he figures, like I said, once he neutralizes, the key is for Terrence Crawford is to neutralize Errol Spence's jab. Once he neutralizes that jab, the fight is over, y'all. And I'm telling y'all, it may not be the fireworks. It may be a one-sided firework. You know what I'm saying? It may be a one. See, just because you're a great fighter and you fight another great fighter, that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be fireworks. Because one great fighter just may have the remedy to make that fight versus the other great fighter not that competitive as far as going back and forth. See, I think people think that this fight can potentially go back and forth. What I'm saying is this: I'm gonna say after round three. After round 3 or 4. After round 3, 4, round about that time, because Earl, like I said, Errol Spence, his punch cadence are not difficult to pick up. He's straight down the middle. He is straight down the middle. He jab. He like to go to the see. The only time Errol Spence gets really busy is when your back is up against the ropes. Terrence Crawford understands that. He understands stay off the ropes. You know what I'm saying? Turn them off the ropes. He's seen the Sean Porter fight. Everybody's seen the Sean Porter fight. You just spin off the ropes, man. So keep the fight in the center of the ring. If that fight stay in the center of the ring, it's not going to be competitive because Terrence Crawford gonna have so many counter opportunities. It's gonna be crazy. When Errol Spence try to reach to the body, he may get the body shot off, but he's gonna get countered upstairs. And then once Terrence Crawford counter him enough upstairs, he gonna put that in the holster. He's gonna find out that Terrence Crawford punched harder than anybody he fought up until this date. I mean, the best thing that Errol Spence can do to get prepared for Terrence Crawford is fight Bruce Ennis. What, man? If he fight Bruce Ennis, if Errol Spence fights Bruce Ennis, he has a better chance to prepare for that fight. Can actually get him prepared for Terrence Crawford if he can get through that fight. If he can get through that fight, which he gonna have a hard time getting through the Bruce Ennis fight. Bruce Ennis is energetic. Like I said, he got fast hands. If he can't grind Boots down, he gonna lose on the scorecards because Boots gonna outwork him. Boots Ennis is gonna outwork him because Terrence Crawford not Terrence Crawford. Errol Spence is not an effective counter puncher to give Boots something worry about when Boots throwing all them punches. See, Terrence Crawford neutralizer is he's a precision counter puncher, so he can make your hands stay at home if you're trying to throw 5 and 6 punches. He can limit that to 1 or 2 punches. Errol Spence is not a counter puncher. Errol Spence is just a first punch guy. Like I said, he like to use his jab. After the first 3 or 4 rounds, 5, 6, and 7 rounds, he started pushing the jab. He did it against Danny. He did it against Sean Porter. He was pushing his jab versus Ennis. You have to really, really, really pay attention and see these things. And sometimes when I watch boxing, I'm looking at what people are not doing correctly. Sometimes you get caught up in that because you know the sport and you actually did it. So you look at people when they and say, "Oh, they're not doing that correctly. They're not doing it correctly." Instead of enjoying the fight, it's hard to do that once you have done it. But yeah, that's a tough fight. The Virgil Ortiz, I believe Spence will grind Virgil Ortiz down and possibly stop him, but he's vulnerable versus Virgil Ortiz because of the fact that you can get off on Errol Spence offensively wise as well. Sean Porter showed you that if you put Errol Spence on his back foot, Errol Spence is he's not good off his back foot. And I'm gonna tell y'all right now, and people probably will say it's crazy, but Terrence Crawford is gonna put Errol Spence on his back foot. He's gonna put Errol Spence on the back foot because Errol Spence cannot fight off the back foot. He showed that versus Sean Porter. The punch that he knocked Sean Porter with Errol Spence finally, because I told y'all he's not a counterpuncher, when he finally knocked Shawn Porter down, that punch right there that he knocked Shawn Porter down was, then Shawn Porter was just coming at him all day. That punch was there. That punch was there from round 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And it took him all the way to round what? 9 or 10 before he found that punch, before he was able to land the punch that he landed against Shawn Porter. And that punch was there all night because Shawn Porter was just coming in. All Errol Spence had to do was take a step back and throw the counter punch, but he wouldn't do it because that's not his strong suit. That's why it took him so long to get that punch off. But that punch was there all night. When I was watching the fight, I was telling people like, man, he can really counter Shawn Porter, but why is he not doing it? Like, why is he not? Why doesn't he see the counter punch? The counter punch is there. If you just take a step to the side or a small step, half a step back, he could have countered him. But he didn't do it because that's not in his, you know what I'm saying? That's not in his arsenal. Naturally, it's not in his arsenal. Yeah, but hey, y'all, thanks for coming through, man. I'm gonna close it out. Like I said, man, Errol Spence, he's ducking these top welterweights, man. He's ducking these guys that wants to fight him. See, it doesn't look good now that everybody wants to fight Errol Spence. Remember, Errol Spence wanted to fight everybody at one point. But that's boxing, man. I've been watching boxing for a long time, so I know how this thing goes. I know how this perception of a boogeyman comes through, and then all of a sudden he gets dominated. He's not the boogeyman no more. Because only when I thought closely, but I was like 13, 14, 15 years old, when I seen Tyson, I thought Mike Tyson was a boogeyman for real. But I didn't have not came into my manhood at that time, so I felt like Mike Tyson was like unstoppable. And when he lost against James Buster Douglas, and I was sitting over my grandmother's house, and we all was looking at the fight, I knew right then and there, there's no such thing as a boogeyman in boxing anymore. So I don't believe in this whole boogeyman when Golovkin was coming through and this guy coming through and this guy, Deontay Wilder coming. I don't believe in the boogeyman. I don't believe there's no boogeymans in boxing. All these guys can be beat. All these guys can be beat. I seen Mike Tyson lose to James Buster Douglas, and Mike Tyson was destroying people. So once you seen that, once you lived through that era and you seen that, you know there's not no such thing as a boogeyman in boxing. But I'm out, y'all. Thanks for coming through, y'all. 903 Boxer and the Raiders, Los Angeles. Thanks for coming through, y'all. I'm out.